Everybody stand for the pledge. I know, I gotta give you one. We're going to call the meeting to order. Clerk, we get a roll call of officers, please?
Mr. Waddell.
Here.
Mr. Johnstone. Mr. Shealy.
Here.
Mr. Leskovic.
Here.
Mr. Julian.
Here.
Mr. Lastic.
Here.
Mr. Stredney.
Here.
Mr. Solito.
Here. We have the general consent agenda. Clerk, can we get a motion to accept the general consent agenda? Yeah. Motion by Mr. Lasting. Second. Second by Mr. Waddell. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Waddell.
Yes.
Mr. Johnstone.
Yes.
Mr. Shealy.
Yes.
Mr. Leskovic.
Yes.
Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Mr. Lastic.
Yes.
Mr. Stredney.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Your general consent agenda has been adopted under council rules. We're going to get into public comments now. Who's first would like to come to the podium and speak? State your name.
Lisa Cricks, 1427 Shaw Avenue. I just wanted to give you an update from a resident being affected by the Hyundai dealership construction. Last time I was here, I talked about the trees being cut down that were not supposed to be cut down. But tonight, I want to talk about the flooding that happened on Friday, April 3rd, that we warned council about 2 years ago before the zoning change approved by council. On Friday, April 3rd, we received 3/4 of an inch of rain in a very short period of time. After the rain ended, we went outside, and that is when the water was raging down Shaw Avenue. We have had flooding in the past, but this was much more, plus the water running down the street. It was a very muddy water coming from the cleared land. On April 1st, City Council was warned that the land had yet to have any soil prevention measures. Although that rainstorm was only 2 days later, it doesn't change the fact that muddy water ran down the street into the city's sewers. The flooding on Route 46 was so bad that someone drove up our street, stopped to ask me where the water break was. It was an off-duty Niles City Water Department worker who was concerned about the amount of water running down the street. Then a little while later, a city council member drove up. They were prompted to drive up Shaw because of all the flooding in a place they had never seen 46 flood before. I bring this up because any soil erosion measures were not put in place until this Monday, April 3rd. That is 12 days after it was brought up to City Council and 10 days after some residents of Shaw had water in their basements, including the church at the bottom of Shaw. I would hope the leaders of this project would make sure the construction zones are following protocol in a more timely manner. At the end of Shaw, there was a lot of debris left over from flooding. I hope that the construction zone leaders will get someone to clean up the mess that was caused by them not having the proper soil erosion protocols in place before the storm. And also, I would like to have an update on the plans for the mound that is to be between the dealership and the residents on Shaw. Has there been any change in the building plans that we looked at 2 weeks ago to show that they can make the mound higher?
Mayor, we had talked about this and I asked her to return for a follow-up. So I guess in regard to her question of, it does appear there's been problems with water and other issues, and there probably should have been a retention pond, and we were looking into that. And again, her question was any changes, what's happened in the last 2 weeks? Has Duke been up? What's the, where are we at on that?
Sure. I know the building inspector visits that site on a daily basis. As stated, stormwater management and sediment erosion control measures are being put in place. And as far as the buffer goes, I know that the building inspector continues to move towards that established buffer that was already agreed upon, but also looks to enhance that buffer with the developer itself.
you had any conversation, her request was, or question, I should say, was how high will it be? And we were with hopes of it getting to 20 feet on the trees. Where are we at? Were the Hyundai receptive to that, or are we gonna have an issue, or we're trying to do everything? I know they said they'd be good neighbors, but now it's time for them to put up, so we're trying to figure out where we're at on that.
Sure. I believe the original intent was, Councilman, can you help me out? 10-foot buffer with 11-foot trees.
So
Ish.
12, we were trying to get to 12 to 15 on the earth itself. So just to recap, the overall height, we're all in agreement, but it's how we're splitting that up, right? How much earth to how much tree was the discussion. And right now is really on that 50-50 mark, 10 to 12 of earth, 10 to 12 of trees. Last we talked to Duke, we were trying to move that retention pond closer to the site location up on 422, which would enable us to widen the base, therefore raise the amount of earth that we could do. I have not got an update since.
As far as the pond goes, I know he had stated that per the engineering, that was not possible. But he was, again, continuing to work with that developer about the buffer itself, the mound. And I know that now that most of the site is being cleared and cleaned, and all of the, again, stormwater sediment erosion control measures are being put in place, we should start seeing earth being moved and pushed towards that rear of the property. So as the next couple weeks move along, weather pending, I assume, you're going to start to see, or you should start to see, some more development as far as that buffer goes, because of the fact that they have to put that in at the rear of the property first, and then continue to develop the site towards State Route 422.
I do believe in speaking with Mr. Cricks that the goal was to get it closer to 24 to 28 feet total high due to the, and also obviously be evergreen, but therefore the leaves don't fall and they got a big open area. But I think that was the thing. I think we were at 18 to 20 feet roughly, and they wanted to go closer to 24 to 28 to try to preserve as much privacy as they're losing from this, and as well as the noise. You're going to have speakers, etc. So it's probably, as Mr. Johnstone said, life is never going to be the same for them as they knew, or will know now, I should say. But we're trying to see if we can get as much height and width as to give them the privacy they're looking for. And I know we were going to reach out to Hyundai and find out where they stand, if they're willing to meet their request, if not demands, at least request. We know where they're in compliance with our requirements, but they said that they would be interested in being a good neighbor. So we're seeing if they can go a little bit further. Do we have any answers if they're willing or not yet?
No, I know building inspector continues to have discussions with that. I don't believe there's anything set in stone. It's kind of just a trial and error type thing. Build that mound to current specs and city standards, and then if it has to increase in size from there, then I believe that was the plan.
I have two follow-up
And
if I
asked if you
could.
had anything on it.
I have two follow-ups. So one, her question was, without those natural protection from the natural waterways during construction, it kind of flooded the road and caused a mess. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask them to come back through and clean up their mess. Are we able to reach out to them and have them come down and clean this up?
I will.
The last thing I'd like to note for city council is this particular situation is just for tonight, okay? So we had agreements and we had handshakes and we had all this, and things changed. So with having our guest earlier in Bitdeer come in, let's not make those same mistakes, okay? Let's get this in writing. Let's get zoning in place. Let's have it shaped the way we want it, or else. So
That being said, I agree with Mr. Johnstone. We had a understanding of what it was going to happen up there with Hyundai, and the residents up there have every right to be irritated because they were told, whether it was a handshake or not, they was told this is the way it's going to be, and they got sold a product that is not what they bought in on, or they would have taken a different stance. So we do need to hold Hyundai to the fire to go rectify this situation every way possible, because I would be irritated as well if I was told something and then given something different, you know? So I do agree, and there probably should have been some more there, probably a town hall meeting. There should have been some discussion, bringing the people in to get their input. Hey, we'd like to change in midstream, and are we okay with that? And probably wouldn't have been an answer if you would have accepted. But at least you would have known, so you didn't get caught blindsided. So you're not irritating us by coming here expressing your concerns, and we are waving the banner, as he's told you, to get this thing fixed the best we can, and we're going to continue till we get as much satisfaction as we can for you. Public comments, sir. State your name, please. Mayor, could you respond to that? Hold on a minute. Mayor, could you respond to that?
I was stated that Bitdeer will not use 1 ounce of or volt of power from the city of Niles. That power was going to be pulled from the Ohio Edison 138 transmission line that runs directly through their so
Do you have a quick answer on that, Mayor? You have a quick answer, or you already did? Is that your answer? That
the Bitdeer will not use power from the Niles grid. That's the answer as far as power goes.
we got it. We got to look. We got to stay in. We got to stay in order, please. And if you're done, if you're not, you probably need.
Chime in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Mr. Julian has a response. Hang on 1 second, ma'am. Ma'am, 1 second.
Hi, Mrs. Six. Can I say something real quick, Mrs. Six? Okay. I just want to remind everybody that a large water user will only add more revenue to the city. It will help stabilize our water rates. No, but sir, it's not going to raise your rates though.
Sir, you're going to have to
stabilize
you
the
had your moment. You're going to have to let him speak.
Nice to see you, Mrs. Six.
Could you hit the button, please? In front of you.
Does that work? Thank you. My name is Drew Six. I live at 317 Warren Avenue, right down from the old Jackson School. I know some gentlemen here, I've lived in Niles all my life. Please, I am begging you to do your research. Don't listen to what those men said. They're the salesmen. They want you to buy their product. DBS just had a special on this. They interviewed the people, the residents that live near the data centers and how unhappy they are. Nobody's going to buy their property. You want Niles to grow. Nobody's going to move here. I'm getting ready to buy another house. I'm putting it off. I don't want to buy a house where there's a data center. CBS Sunday Morning has an hour-and-a-half show with Jane Pauley on. This Sunday or the 2 Sundays ago, it said more people have left America in 2025 than entered. More people are going to leave Niles than are going to enter. It might be the death of some small cities, these data centers. Also, one more thing, Youngstown put up noise barriers along the interstate. When they interviewed them on the news, the noise they said was worse. It like multiplied it. So just because they're going to put up barriers and you can have a conversation, you can have a conversation on the dance floor where the music is blaring. That doesn't mean that it's healthy for us or healthy for the environment or healthy for our community or our wildlife. I'm old. I'm not going to be here much longer, but I have grandchildren and I care. I miss my students terribly. I love teaching. Please, please, please do your homework. Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm only. Gonna follow up.
Hi,
on that.
everybody.
Hang on
Buckle
one-
up for this ride.
Joan, hang on one second. Ma'am, I wanted to follow up with that. I would tell you, I've gotten more people than are in this room have messaged me and called me about this issue. So whether it's this month, or next year, my position is always going to be the will of the people, which they do not want this. So.
Button.
State your name.
My name is Jessica Gardner. I am a Niles resident. I reside on Warren Avenue. I'm a Trumbull County teacher, and I teach classes at Youngstown State University. My statement regards the Bitdeer data center that will be built on Belmont Avenue. I'm here to speak to the council and my neighbors, and I'm not sure why I'm facing you. I should be everybody else. Oh, and I'd like to bring up the fact that the Bitdeer guys did not welcome us. They did not say, "Hi, how's everybody tonight?" Thought that was weird. Sorry, it's kind of long. I'm long-winded. Key phrases of Niles' mission statement is that Niles provides affordable living and a safe and high quality of life. The problem with this motto is the hypocrisy. Niles is implementing a strong beautification program. We've painted railroad bridges and added the Niles Greenway. We have a new playground, splash pad, and public square, and the riverfront revitalization, which is still under construction. The addition of a data center will reverse all positive impacts of the program, eliminating affordable living and safe and high quality of life. With the planned Bitdeer Center and the Kimberly Clark facility also on Warren Avenue, Niles will be surrounded by cancer-causing pollutions. As a cancer survivor, I find this unacceptable. First, consider the destruction of our environment. The data center will be located only 2 miles away from the new river revitalization site and the public square. Bitdeer's own website states, are you ready? Are you ready, everybody? The problems become harder to solve. More computational power is needed. Therefore, it is considered harmful to the environment. They literally state on their own website about environment and water depletion. Bitdeer does not deny destruction to the environment. This voracious grid-straining energy consumption will cost the citizens more money per month on top of current rising costs, which, like, let's be real, terrible. The Ohio Capital Journal says the wholesale price of electricity from data centers is up 267% from 5 years ago. Every day, customers are eating those costs. And if nobody believes me, I've been doing this research for 2 weeks. I have every article with me if you would like to see them. Sorry, my allergies are crazy. Bitdeer's website states that the use of fossil fuels, which are those diesel generators, will contribute to greenhouse gases and resource depletion. Their website literally states that. So apparently nobody up here has read that. During the summer, the data center will increase energy use, thus resulting in less energy for Niles citizens, while creating more pollution. Gas-powered data centers emit pollutants, including nitrogen oxide, methane, and forever chemicals that harm our air, our land, and our water. The Environmental Health Project says these pollutants increase rates of respiratory and cardiovascular disease and elevate the cancer risk among nearby communities, not only the people who are in your district, but the surrounding communities. Secondly, water consumption and pollution must be considered. The crypto mining data centers require massive quantities of clean water, as we heard today. For reference, Bitcoin's annual water consumption surpassed 581 billion gallons, which is enough for 300,000 households. From 2020 to 2023, water use for Bitcoin mining increased 166%. This will only get worse with climate change. The wastewater from these data centers will be dispersed back into our waterways. And he could talk about drains all day long. Furthermore, noise pollution created by data centers can be heard up to a 2-mile radius, affecting the river revitalization site and the public square. This 90 decibels of noise pollution can be heard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The American Speech Language Hearing Association states that sounds at 85 decibels can lead to hearing loss in as few as 8 hours. I remind you, data centers never stop running. The noise will never cease. Light pollution generated by data centers disrupts circadian rhythms, melatonin production, and sleep-wake cycles. Nat Geo says that light pollution disturbs migration and habits of butterflies, birds, bats, and pollinators like moths and bees. Nocturnal animals will become disoriented. The data center will threaten plant reproduction, crop growth, and animal food chains. This could be catastrophic. Oh, hold on. It's curious that the planning of this data center is being kept under wraps until the construction begins. Why are these data centers creating non-disclosure agreements and suppressing the news of their construction? This is a disservice to your constituents. In case you have forgotten, you work for us. All right, where was I? Permanent jobs will be limited. Oh, wait, hold on. Proponents say there will be jobs and tax revenue. Permanent jobs will be limited and BitDeer will receive a tax abatement. The Wall Street Journal says data centers employ very few people. They are designed to support high computing power, not human employment. And you would notice on that video, he showed us, I didn't see one person, did you? Council, citizens do not want beautification efforts to include forever chemicals, higher utility costs, and polluted waterways. Inevitably, it will be Niles residents who will pay for the abuse of these resources, which will harm our environment, our health, and our children's futures. So I ask, at what cost will this data be constructed? How green will our greenway be? How revitalized will our river be? How many animals will die? How many people will suffer cancer, like me, or other illnesses? While other cities are banning data centers, Niles is welcoming them. For what?
Can I ask, because you are over, how close are you?
Literally like 10 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, because I timed it. Niles is welcoming them for what? When council members mention economic stimulus, they mean money. Okay, so how do we fix it? To my fellow residents, the council members tell us that they want to beautify our home, but their proposed actions speak otherwise. I implore the council to reconsider the data center or put it on a ballot so we, the citizens, can vote on the destruction of our homes and our lives and our children. Mr. Salido, let the residents decide. You've always listened to the people. This is our health, our city, and frankly, we deserve.
Thank you. I state your name, please. If we could, though, if everybody out there, I want everybody to come up and speak if they like, but if we could try to keep it to one when you get to the podium, so everybody can hear.
Hi, good evening. My name is Paige Nealer. I live on Niles, Cortland Road Southeast. I just moved to the area in October from Pittsburgh. I moved here from Pittsburgh.
The button, please.
Blue, is it supposed to be blue or red? Hi, sorry, I'll start over real quick. My name is Paige Nealer. I live on Niles Cortland Road Southeast. I just moved to the area in October from Pittsburgh. We moved to this area from Pittsburgh because of the beauty of this area and because of the small town feel. I lived in Hubbard for 8 years before moving to Pittsburgh for 6. We moved back because we loved this area so much. We have seen, and I work directly with Alcosan in Pittsburgh, the overflow of water. The pipes can only hold so much water at a time. So while this data center might be okay, when they build 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more, the pipes will no longer be able to hold the water, and the power lines will ultimately fail as well. It will put a strain on the entire system. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in 5 or 10 years, we will see the effects, and we'll have to pay for new sewers to be put in, new outfalls to be put in, all of that, and that is where our rates will go up. Alcosan is implementing a 7% rate increase every year in Pittsburgh. My water bill was almost $300 or $400 for an 1,100 square foot home with 2 people. And we moved here because of the affordability. And I do not want to leave this area. We bought a house that we can stay in until we're 80 years old, and I plan to do that, as long as you guys don't push me out and outprice me. That is all. Thank you.
Say some council, feel free if something, you need to interject at any point, if there's something. So I'm not always looking that way, so let me know if there's something you need. Frank, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I didn't talk yet. Don't be mad at us. We're here. We're with you. We're part of you. We didn't vote for this yet, or we didn't bring them here. Okay, we're with you. So don't come at us and yell at us. We just found out about this ourselves. So we're with you. Believe me, we want to help you guys.
Oh, let's keep it there. And I will say with Frank, correct him mildly, in good intentions, they were requested to be here so you could hear what they had to say. And that was by Mr. Stredney and Mr. Johnstone for the sake of transparency, wanted them here to hear what they had to say. All right, let's get back on task and allow this young lady to speak. Please.
Is this supposed to be blue? Okay. Katie Fallow. I live on Roosevelt. I do want to thank you for exploring every opportunity to bring jobs to the area and economic growth. I think that is part of your responsibility. As we consider the benefits of the potential data center, I also want to be clear about the potential costs that we are willing to accept as a community and ensure that the community has a meaningful voice in deciding what those trade-offs should be. I come to you more as a mother and a teacher concerned about our students. In the United States, some regions have seen data centers drive up local electricity, and with that demand is met with fossil fuels, it impacts air pollution. The EPA reports that poor air quality can worsen asthma and reduce lung function conditions, and we already have that in over 4 million children in the United States. The impact on that, as far as the educational perspective goes, is that it impacts our students' speech clarity, their stamina in their classroom, and their overall learning. Data centers do operate 24/7. That's the nature of the beast. And studies have shown that chronic environmental noise above 55 decibels, about the level of a constant hum, can impair concentration, memory, and language processing. The World Health Organization has linked long-term noise exposure to cognitive delays in children, particularly in reading and in verbal comprehension, which are concerns, I think, for a lot of educators anyway. According to research from the University of California, Riverside, a single data center can use 3 to 5 million gallons of water a day for cooling. And this burden can have long-term effects, obviously, on sanitation, public health, but also on the operation of our schools. As you research this, I would just ask as a community member that you conduct comprehensive impact studies. Some of those that I have read about that have provided the best data include water consumption studies, energy grid impact studies, which may be the dynamic load study that was spoke of earlier, air quality and emission studies, a noise impact analysis, a health impact assessment, a fiscal impact analysis, an economic development study, and have a noise mitigation plan in place. I happened to check the Niles air quality as I was walking in today, and even today it's at the moderate level. What was most concerning to me was that we had high levels of PM 2.5 pollution. So if anybody would go and Google that, that's not exactly a great kind of pollution to have in our airways anyway, let alone if we're going to be adding to that. I thank you for your time. I trust that you guys will do your due diligence to research this, to ask for these health impact analyses, and to make the best decision for your constituents.
And ma'am, I want to thank you as one of the educators of our city of being here. And I do want to tell you that for one, I think I can speak for everybody here. I don't think there's nobody here offended that you're here. I think everybody here, it's great that they showed up. We work, hence the title public servant, and every now and then everybody needs to be reminded that, not just when it comes to knocking on a door to vote, it needs to hear you. And I think it's overwhelming to see everybody here that they care. State your name.
My name is Noah Williams. I appreciate for be able to come up and speak about this. This is regarding the data center, okay? So like the YSU professor said, I do not like the fact about a data center. And for everyone sitting in here, it is bad for our health. It will be it'll cause a lot of pollution. And not only that, you got the middle school, which is like 2 miles away. All these kids would have to just deal with the noise, deal with the pollution. We don't want that. I lived in Niles my whole life. And, you know, this is a nice city. I always liked it here. For the mayor, you're doing a good job with putting in our public square, a green bike trail, and putting a kayak launch. But if we put in a data center, all of that would become a waste of time because nobody would want to come to this city. Everyone would want to leave the city because didn't they say 500 million gallons of water a day? 500,000 gallons of water a day. That's not a month. That's not a week. That's not a year. You're talking a water bill that's going to shoot up the high-rise roof. And we want Niles to be an affordable, clean, safe, and fun place to live. And a data center would not be a good idea. That's my word right there. Who would all agree? Thank you for letting me speak. Let's go to the next person.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hannah Bell. I live on North Bentley Avenue, 606. I had a speech written up. This is regarding the data center, to be clear. I had a speech written up and it feels inadequate. There have been so many eloquent people before me, but we'll pull one part from it. According to the most recent data I could find from the United States Census Bureau, there are 18,238 people living here in Niles, Ohio at this was data from 2024. So it's changed since then, but our community, that's not just a number. These are our families, our friends, our neighbors, people we care about. I haven't lived here very long. My family and I moved here just almost 2 years ago. And I've never felt more comfortable anywhere I've ever lived before. I love the people here. I love our community. I've never met a mean person, and it's pretty hard when there's so many people, but I truly care about everyone who lives here. And even if I don't know them, it's a beautiful place. And I can't imagine our beautiful city being impacted by a data center the way it would. I cannot imagine my neighbors, my friends, suffering because of the noise, the particulate matter in the air, the utility spikes. And I can't speak for everybody, but I can't think of anyone who would want that for their neighbors. I don't have a lot to say, but I do have to say this. If you care, and in my heart, I believe that everybody cares, at least a little bit. If you do care, I think that everybody behind me, everybody in front of me who has said beautiful things for our community, I think that that should be taken gravely to heart. And I think I can only speak for myself, but I cannot justify for any reason any amount of the suffering that would be caused to our neighbors and our families for, like, no matter what good could come if there is any tangible reward for its construction. Thank you for letting me speak. I hope you take all this to heart and have a good day.
Thank you for coming. State your name, please.
My name is Corey Kuriotnik. I live at 823 North Road, and I like trees, and I've lived in Niles my whole life. All right, so a few things I just want to mention. I'm going to be at these meetings because I want to hold accountable everybody involved, especially the people who are talking about the data center. They leave out some pretty specific details that I think should be mentioned for everyone to know. First, the video they showed us at the Massillon site was not fully energized, and the sound test would not be accurate. So I think that's a little deceptive to have showed us a non-equivalent sound test to try and leverage us. How much water is evaporated during this closed system? They mentioned evaporation towers and all these things, but that goes somewhere. It goes into the air. So that water that does evaporate does have glycol, does have these chemicals in it. Whether there's captured on the ground, it's going to go through the air. It's going to rain. It's going to go right into the river. It's going to go on the trees and the leaves. A data center. Okay, so this is the kind of weird part for me because they have contradicting information on their website and what they. Okay, so a colocation, if I'm saying that right, facility is when you rent out your equipment for other businesses to use to mine Bitcoin or to train AI models. That was kind of misleading the way that they mentioned how their centers are set up and what their plans are. So on their website, it states very clearly that all of the sites, except for maybe one, which is a 1 megawatt facility in some other country, they do plan to mine Bitcoin at the beginning, and it states in their building plans that that is what it's a Bitcoin mining operation to then transfer into an AI center, meaning they're literally going to just mine Bitcoin in the area and use our resources to do so. And then because it's convenient that they have all of this extra tech and stuff, we're going to turn it into a facility that's a buzzword for training AI. Does anybody here know how to train AI? Anybody? Does anybody know how to train AI at all? Do you guys even know the process? Okay, maybe 1-2 people. We had an idea. So that's if they ever get to that. If not, they're going to be mining Bitcoin, which we all know is a volatile resource, if it's even a resource. So there's no immediate benefit or long-term benefit for anybody in the area or any party involved. Jobs, 50 to 60, permanent jobs, hyper-specific roles, And the other stuff they boasted are all construction, building, engineering, which are all temporary and still pretty hyper specific. So there's no long-term benefit for anybody really in the area. The final thing I want to mention is 500,000 gallons a day. When all of the other data centers and data shows that a facility of that size uses anywhere from 3 million plus a day. So Niles, based on some reports online, uses roughly 6 million, and that's just Niles maybe. And so even if their number is accurate, they're still going to be coming in using roughly 10% if they were a tenant. You know, it's like adding however many people into our city all at once in one location. So I just think there needs to be a lot more information gotten out from BitDeer about these specifics. Until then, I 100% am against this specific data center because I am not against data center that pushes our infrastructure, which this is not that. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Corey, thank you for the information.
Hi, my name is Steve Lender. I travel all over the U.S. I chemical clean boilers all over the United States here. And my questions is why don't we take a decibel reading down where the pumps are and let's see what they sound like? The other thing is, I know you use water and antifreeze. So once that system gets contaminated into your pond, that becomes environmental waste. Who flips the tab to get that out when your pond, because you're not going to run it back through your system, are you? Nope. Who's going to monitor the ppms for the iron? Who's going to monitor the ppms for the copper? And who's going to watch the pH as it goes back down into our river? What protocols do you have intact for that? And my other question is, water's cheap. Why don't we use liquid nitrogen on a self-contained building in a closed circuit? Or better yet, why don't you build your own HRSG and just go on the grid like everybody else does, bid on it and buy it and run it yourself? Why mooch off all the other grids?
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tina Bricker on Hickory
And what was
Lane.
your name again?
Um,
What was your name again?
Tina Bricker. I want to thank you for hearing me. I want to stress that I don't stand here as an enemy of progress. When I look at a data center proposal, I don't see progress. I see a gamble where big tech companies get the gold and Niles and Weatherfield foot the bill. Now, I know there are good faith arguments for the project. There are informed, honest people in our community that'll tell you that modern data centers use what's called a closed loop system. They say that once the water is filled and then it recycles forever. Okay. In a laboratory, that might be true, but we aren't living in a laboratory. We live in Ohio. I can tell you that as the chips get smaller and AI demands get larger, the heat these machines generate is going to outstrip the closed loop theory. To keep the servers from melting, a data center has to bleed the lines to remove toxic sludge, which are also known as forever chemicals. And the bleeding water needs to be evaporated. It does not stay in the loop. And if it's evaporated, where's that going? It evaporates into the sky by millions of gallons. The inside of the so-called regulations that are supposed to protect us, protect our water table, are flawed in that the proof provided by companies who are paid by big tech and those rigorous studies are often self-funded, a sort of pay-to-play model where if you've got the cash, you get the certificate. If $1 trillion company is funding the study that says their forever chemicals won't hit our water table, they aren't giving us the science, they're giving us a sales pitch. We're told that we have to accept this because we need big employers. We're told that if we don't say yes, we're driving away the future, but that's a false choice. A big employer who uses the water of 42,800 people, which by the way is a combination of both Niles and Wethersfield, and only hires around 15 people is not an employer. They're an extraction.
We're being asked to fund a 21st century luxury with a 19th century resource heist. We're being asked to sacrifice the lifeblood of our city so a $1 trillion company can save a fraction of a cent on its margins. We are being asked to drain our reservoir so that a chatbot can write a poem or cutesy AI pictures can be generated. They want us to trust a $1 trillion industry that tells us with a straight face that they can suck 5 million gallons, well, they're saying 500,000, but they're wrong by the size of that location, of water out of our ground a day, use it as a liquid heat sink, and return it to our rivers without a single consequence. No logic will agree with that, ever. They're asking for a measured approach while they hide the actual usage behind secret contracts and NDAs. Ohioans have seen this trick played before. I'm sure that we all remember the House Bill 6 issue. We were told that those were essential and measured too, and it turned out to be the largest racketeering fuck in the history of our state. So when a $1 trillion company asks for our water, our electricity, and our silence, we shouldn't be just asking for facts. We should be asking who's really getting the kickback and why is it our reservoir that's on the line. There is a reason the Ohio House just voted 88-0 to pause and study this industry. It wasn't an act of cynicism. It was an act of stewardship. They realize we cannot let these ghost towns move in before we fully understand the damage they do to our grid and our water table. Let Niles and Wethersfield be the locations that vote no to this data center. I believe that one drop of clean water for our children is worth more than 1 billion AI generated. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Hi, my name is Jessica. To the members of the Niles City Council, I have lived at 308 Scott Avenue since 2017. I'm here tonight to voice my strong opposition to the proposed Bitdeer Data Center project at 1047 Belmont Avenue. While I recognize the city's interest in economic development, the proximity of this 300 megawatt industrial site, which is just 1.4 miles from my front door, poses significant risks to our community's health, resources, and long-term financial stability. I urge the council to consider the following concerns. The first concern is health and environmental risks. Data centers are not silent neighbors. The cooling systems and high-powered fans required for a 300 megawatt facility create a constant 24/7 low-frequency hum. Studies have shown that long-term exposure to this level of industrial noise can lead to sleep disturbances, increased blood pressure, and anxiety for the residents in nearby residential zones. Furthermore, the massive energy consumption of these sites often necessitates infrastructure that can impact local air quality and natural ecosystem of Mahoning. The Mahoning River is more than just a site for industrial development. It is the backbone of our region's history and its future. For decades, we have worked to move away from the pollution of the past and toward a clean, free-flowing river that supports recreation and wildlife. Communities from Warren and Lordstown upstream to Youngstown, Camel, and Lowellville downstream all share this watershed. Building a massive data center on its banks risks reversing years of restoration progress and threatens the very resource that defines our community. A 300 megawatt data center risks thermal pollution by returning heated water to the river, which can trigger algae blooms and kill fish, undoing years of environmental recovery. What happens in Niles doesn't stay in Niles. It affects every neighbor who uses this river for recreation and in some cases, drinking water. The second concern is resource strain. The sheer scale of a 300 megawatt data center is staggering. These facilities require millions of gallons of water for cooling and place immense pressure on the electrical grid. I am deeply concerned that prioritizing Bitdeer's industrial needs will lead to a higher utility cost for the residents or a strain on our local water system, especially as the Ohio EPA is currently evaluating the broader impact of data center water quality. Niles is unique because we operate our own electric, water, and sewage systems. We are not just customers, we are stakeholders. I worry that the sheer volume of power and water Bitdeer requires will force costly infrastructure upgrades. Will the residents of Scott Avenue and the rest of Niles see their monthly utility bills rise to subsidize a multi-billion-dollar corporation's cooling needs? The third concern is the financial impact on property values. Homeowners in Niles, like myself, invest in our properties with the expectation of a quiet residential atmosphere. Placing a massive industrial crypto mine or data hub in our backyard threatens to devalue our homes. We must ask, will the temporary construction jobs and limited permanent roles truly offset the potential loss in property tax revenue from declining home values in our neighborhood? The fourth concern is financial instability and risk to the city. Beyond the immediate environmental impact, I have grave concerns about the financial stability of this project for Niles. While Bitdeer is a large corporation, their recent 2025 financial filings show they are carrying nearly $1 billion in debt and currently operate with a negative free cash flow as they race to expand. Their entire business model is tethered to the constant up and downs of the cryptocurrency market. This creates a boom or bust risk for our community. If the crypto market dips or their thin 5% profit margins evaporate, what happens to the Mahoning River site? We run the risk of being left with a half-finished industrial eyesore, a vacant facility, or a company that eventually asks the city for tax breaks and utility subsidies just to keep the lights on. Bitdeer may have access to capital, but it is currently spending far more than it earns. My concern is not its size, but its stability. Our city should not gamble its land and resources on a high-debt industry that may not be viable for a decade from now. And the last concern is the right to vote. Finally, a project of this magnitude, one that fundamentally changes the character and resource allocation of Niles, should not be decided behind closed doors or through non-disclosure agreements. Development that impacts our daily lives so drastically should be put to the people. I believe the citizens of Niles deserve the right to decide via public ballot whether we want to become an industrial data hub. I have lived on Scott Avenue for 9 years. I care about the future of the city, but not at the expense of our health and the quiet enjoyment of our homes. I respectfully ask the council to reject this proposal and protect the residents who have invested their lives in Niles. Thank you for your time and for your service to our community.
Hello, council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Isabel. I live on Washington Street, 44446. Most of the points that I have written down have already been brought up today. The country prices of electricity have gone up 267% in the last 5 years because of the high concentration of data centers as per the Environmental and Energy Study Institute. Ohio already has an estimated 200 data centers. We are already footing the bill for these megacorps. Electricity prices are outpacing inflation. Communities foot the bill for billionaires' failed investments. For example, OpenAI, one of the largest AI companies, lost $12 billion in 2025 alone, and is on track to lose $60 billion by 2030. I'm sorry, I'm out of order. So while anywhere from 250 to 1,000 people could work on the construction of the data center, after completion, the center will permanently employ only 30 to 100 people. Data centers are not the zenith of job opportunities. This project is not as expansionary as you all have been told. It will kill more jobs and drive out more people than it will bring in or create. In my opinion, this should be sufficient evidence not to invest in the data centers in our home. AI data centers, the closed loop has already been brought up, but it is impossible. We are facing a global water scarcity problem already, and the AI data centers use fresh water to bleed their overheated lines, which are full of toxic sludge, which are forever chemicals that will leak into our community. The fresh water used by the hundreds of tons is then evaporated, is being used too quickly to return to the water cycle in the same amounts that contribute to the water scarcity issue in the first place. Sorry. So this is a failed project by the tech industry that kills communities and then lies about it. But our water and energy bills won't lie. Progress is pro-community. Progress is our parks, our shopping and business districts. Progress is our continuous love of the city of Niles. It is not a data center. These buildings lay waste to communities. Also wanted to bring up that they brought up receiving fire services from us, but who would pay for this? If we had our community resources that would be helping them, emergency services on their site, also that it could be, they said 300 megawatts is 30 to 70 megawatts larger than the Massillon community. They called it a non-polluter. And I know that some of the council members today said that they wanted to take in our best interest. So please, we as a community are trusting you to listen to us. We are saying that we do not want this data center. Please. Thank you for listening to me today.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Vincent. I live at 307 Lafayette. I just wanted to say thank you I don't think you guys get appreciated enough for what you do for Niles, and I want to say thank you. And there are some of us that do appreciate you, but I want you to remember what that man from Bit Deer said, and thank you for responding to him when he said, we're going to build it anyways. They can't. They need the annexation. They need our resources. They can't just drop a data center without us. And we don't want it. There are too many negatives associated with that. That is hardly a face of a company with integrity or good intentions, especially for our community. So please remember that comment that he made, that they're going to build it anyways. Please. Thank you.
President Salito.
Mr. Johnstone?
Before we continue, I think that's an interesting point. I've been taking notes for everybody. I don't know if you believe me or not. There's a lot of hostility in the room, but I do genuinely appreciate the response. On a normal council meeting, we'll be lucky to have, so you showing up today shows all of us how much you love our city as much as we do. So I do appreciate that. But however, I do want to touch on something she just said, and it's something that's weighing on myself. I can't speak for the others, but they have purchased the property. That's a fact. And the property is mostly in Weathersfield. That's a fact. We can deny the annexation. That's a fact. Then we have no control or say over what goes on that property. So when you're approaching and you say things like, we're chasing the almighty dollar, I know that what that may look like, but the true reality of the situation is we have an opportunity to either control and be involved or sit on the sidelines and hope Weathersfield does what we want in this room. So we can talk after. I have all the property reports right in front of me. The Niles is only, I have it right in front of me. I'll be more than happy. Wait, hold on.
Aaron.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Nobody's arguing that pollution would hit a wall at Weathersfield. What we are talking about though is what we can do as council, right? And all of you are here urging us to do what you want. I don't know what that looks like. If we say no to Weathersfield, no to the annexation, nobody sitting up here has that. So that is something that is weighing on us that I want to make sure that I stress to everybody in the room though.
I will follow up on what you said though. That is correct what I said. We will not be bullied. Whatever we do, whatever decision goes will not be because they bullied. And for every action, there's a reaction. If they're forced it, there is ways and resources to make things difficult. So as I told them, so that is true. We will not be bullied on what we do. Well, let's wait till we get to the podium. If you have other questions, please.
Hello, my name is Keith Kramer. That's what to see. I live on 1335 Yule Street. I'm pretty close to the data center if it gets built. Everybody pretty much said the same thing I'm going to say because I'm going to have my version of it. It just goes to show how in tune we are as a community. We may all have our differences with each other, but together we all stand together on this. As you guys said, with it being in Weathersfield, we don't have full control, but with the annexation, we do have control over that. We could have stringent regulations, I apologize in advance. I speak way before my brain processes words sometimes. We need to have some sort of regulations, like with the sound, with the everything else. And if they violate that, then that's a no-go. We either just don't give them the ability to use our water or our electricity. I know they said that they could build a substation, but that's not going to be enough. Because they mentioned, okay, the power goes down, diesel generators. Why diesel? They're supposed to be clean for the environment. Why not solar? Why not wind? Why are we using diesel generators? I understand it's the worst case scenario, but it shouldn't be the worst case scenario. As for the water, if they're pulling from Meander, which I know most of our drinking water is coming from, a couple years ago, we were almost in a drought because how the summer had no rain at all. I saw how low Meander got. What if we got down a drought? They use all that water. That's our drinking water. How's that going to affect us? As for the jobs, at most it's going to be like 50, 100. Is that really enough for us? I know everybody here wants a job, and I know we want to be progressive with jobs, but is 100 enough for this data center? And even then, it's probably going to be specialized. The average person might not get that job. There's countless proof online that the sound, the light pollution harms people. Everybody that lives by it is going to be affected by this. I don't see a benefit to the community. I'm not against progression, but I'm against this data center unless I see further proof on why they should be here.
Let's say, I don't believe they ever said 100 jobs. I think 50 was the number. So.
Okay, my name is Beverly Bressler and I live at 209 Highland Avenue. And I have a little different approach here because I neither oppose or approve of this project yet because I don't think we know everything. I think we're in an AI revolution and we're not going to put the cap on it again. It's out there. So like Mr. Johnstone said, we have to learn how to deal with these things coming into our backyard. I've done a lot of research too, and we could sit here and spout off all the things that has happened in different communities, but I'm sure you all know, you've all heard it. I don't have to say that again. So there are communities that have gone ahead and done this thing and have hurt because of it. And I think we have an opportunity at this point in time to really look at this thing and start doing it right, so that we can bring, I personally believe that there will be wealth that is brought in from these things when we do this thing right. If we make, my understanding is that the communities that have worked the best with this is the ones that have done community benefit agreements with the people who are starting the data center, with the community and with the utilities that are going to be involved in keeping, this data center running. And everybody has to be transparent. You can't have non-disclosure agreements. It's a little disconcerting to me that this company could come in and buy land to put up a data center before we even knew anything about it, so that we couldn't have got in front of it and said, let's be partners in this thing. Let's try to work this thing out to the best benefit of you and to our citizens. I don't think there's been a lot of money in AI. I'm not sure where the lady who was up here before got her information. Everybody who has a 401k has prospered in 2025 and 2026 because of AI. Anybody who is on GPT chat is keeping these data centers in business. Anybody who buys Bitcoin is prospering off of these companies. We're not going to stop it. It's a revolution, and we have to learn how to deal with it, just like we did, when with the space race and the Industrial Revolution 50 years before that. Bad things come, but it's going to come. So let's try to manage it and do it the best for our citizens so that we get a benefit from it. I'm an accountant, and there's an age-old principle in accounting to match the expenses with the income. None of our citizens should have to foot the cost or the bill for any of this. And it should be the people who are making the income should pay for these expenses. Somehow we need to make that work. And somehow we need to make sure that it's so transparent that I know when my electric goes up that it wasn't because of that, that it was another reason for that. If people don't disclose this information, it just builds mistrust. And, so you guys have a task in front of you, because I do believe, if we don't do it, somebody's going to do it. Maybe Wethersfield will do it or Trumbull County will do it. I hope somebody does it so that we don't suffer any of these terrible consequences that we've all heard about, which some cities have. So I just leave you with that challenge, and hopefully you guys will all figure it out. So.
Thank you. Nicholas, you're going to have to address the chair, please. You're going to have to address the chair.
I would love to know amongst the people behind me who would love to have the ability to vote on this data center on the ballots by show of hands. Now, by show of hands, if we do not get the ability to vote on this data center on a ballot, who is willing to change the people sitting in these chairs if we do not get that ability? Lastly, finally, cities such as Lordstown, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Detroit are all infamous historically for their local economies with endless high-paying employment opportunities for its locals. My question is, if these data centers are so good for our local economy, why is it that almost nobody in this room knows of Ashburn, Virginia? Ashburn has the largest density of data centers in the country with over 65 data centers in this one town. Why is there not a national push to move there if these data centers are such a great place to work and they bring so many opportunities for employment? Why is it that nobody in this room knows of a single testimonial of a family member whose life has been changed by working for a data center all over the country?
Abigail, could you state your name, please?
Good evening. My name is Abigail Bickerstaff. I have a couple questions. I know we've heard lots of opinions, lots of facts. Let's get a little interactive here. Can somebody, council, mayor, anybody, where is this company headquartered from?
Mayor, headquarters?
Singapore.
Singapore? Singapore.
Singapore, okay. Okay, so just curious, do we know how much revenue this potential data center can generate for us?
Do we have a potential, has that been put out yet, numbers of what it can bring in, potential revenue? I guess it's going to come from water sales, right, for the biggest part?
Sure. I mean, those projections we're still waiting for. We do not have those.
So
I didn't have to boot her because she didn't have to. She didn't.
So I guess my question, since we aren't sure of how much this is going to generate, why don't we know? My question was, if we're unsure of how much money this potential center is going to generate, why don't we know? Wouldn't that be question number one, the what's in it for us? No, no answer?
Or is it a work in progress, or is it infant stage? Where we at? Why do we not have any?
Well, are you done, Abigail? 'Cause I respect your time
I
and
mean,
let you,
I have several more questions, but please, I would like to volley back and forth accordingly.
go ahead and finish.
So like I said, question is, how much revenue is or is not this going to generate for us? And why do we know, or why do we not know?
I don't want to get too far ahead. We can stop the clock for a second if you want to go ahead and answer the best you can.
The only thing I'll say is this is in the very early and infant stages. And as you, or I would assume most of you know, that this was nothing more than a fact-finding session. And I know people in the crowd, I heard mumble under your breath, there's NDAs, it's a done deal. That's simply not true. And I'm looking you all in the face right now and telling you that this was nothing more than a fact-finding session. A developer in Bitdeer had approached the city and wanted to do their own due diligence with the city of Niles before they started construction at their site in Weathersfield Township that they bought over a year ago. It is up to us as elected officials to do that due diligence, to do that fact-finding, whether it be Bitdeer, a retail company, or anyone else looking to do business in the city of Niles. And I can't speak for anyone else, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's how I operate, okay? I operate on fact. I don't operate off opinion. And I can assure you that the majority, that all of council, I'm very confident in saying, does the same thing. And it would not be responsible of myself or any one of our elected officials to make rash decisions without doing the due diligence, without doing the research, without fact-finding. So again, that's what tonight was. If you notice on our agenda, there is nothing on tonight's agenda about voting whether or not to allow Bitdeer, to allow a data center, to allow annexation, to ban this, to vote on this, nothing. This was simply a fact-finding discussion with the developer that approached the administration that wanted to present to council. Will something materialize? I don't know. I don't believe anyone up here can give you that answer, okay? But what I can tell you is we will continue to have conversations until it is time to make an informed decision. And we can all agree to disagree. That's part of life. That's part of government, all right? But we will not make any rash decisions. I've said it before and I will say it again. Without doing our research, without doing our due diligence, without being transparent, okay? And that's what tonight was, transparency. With allowing the developer to come in to a public forum and present in a public forum to city council. Whether you believe Bitdeer or not, that's to each their own, but that's what that is, okay? So I can tell you that the payroll was asked for them to provide that to us. They have not done that yet, okay? The water usage, just from my own rough calculations on 500,000 gallons per day and 15 million gallons per month and 180 million gallons per year equates to $945,000 in water revenue that the city would enjoy, okay? And that water revenue, like any other money that is generated through rates, goes back into our water system to improve our public water. What I said earlier about MVSD, that was us doing our due diligence and making sure that the MVSD can indeed provide that amount of water to that facility. What happens in the future with McDonald Steel, with Lordstown, I don't know. I can't control that. I don't have those answers. But what I can tell you that given the current situation and currently known facts, research has been done. Whether you believe it or not about Bitdeer utilizing the Niles grid for power, you heard it from them, you've heard it from me, you heard it from other council members. They are not tapping into the Niles grid. They are not going to drain the Niles grid. They're not going to force the Niles rate to skyrocket because of all the power that they use from the city of Niles. We will not provide them power. We cannot provide them power. That's why there is not a data center located currently in the city of Niles. And believe me, over the last 5 years, we've had other conversations with interested parties wanting to locate in the city of Niles because of the fact that we do operate our own utilities. They see that we do operate our own electric system, distribution system, and that's an incentive for them to explore. But the reason that there is not a data center located in the city of Niles, we cannot provide power to a data center. At peak demand, on a sunny 95-degree August day, the city of Niles produces approximately 85 megawatts to power the entire city. 300 megawatts was proposed by Bitdeer during their presentation. Okay, so that's the facts. And that's the research that we have done leading up to this point, and we will continue to do. But to ask for A through Z, we don't have that information. Will we continue to explore and research and learn? Absolutely we will. And if it comes to a point where we do need to make a decision collectively, then we know we will make an informed decision, not only by the research we've done, but also by listening to the concerns of our residents.
Mayor, thank you. And in the respect timeliness, I'm going to go ahead.
Actually, I want to jump in just so we have it all fresh in our
We
mind.
do have a lot of people to
We
speak.
talked,
so
I
that's-
understand that. We said that we are not going to make rash decisions, and the way that we can assure that to the public is vote on this moratorium that I'm proposing.
Moratorium is only going to give us 3 to 6 months, right? We're not saying, we're not saying a year, 2 years. We're saying in 3 to 6 months, right?
Propose a 6-month. We can always end it early if we fact find and then come to a decision beforehand. But if you want to tell the people that we won't rush into decisions and you want them to walk out here knowing that, you guys up here will vote with me on a 6-month moratorium.
I would say do a 3-year. I would say do it. If that's truly the case, respecting their will of me here, let's do a 2-year moratorium. Thing, but if we're trying to really get this issue of respect the will. Abigail, go ahead and start if you want to start that.
Okay, so another question, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your response. How long has your office, this administration, known about this proposed data center?
Directed over here. Mayor, could you have a quick answer on that so we can keep moving?
I read about it in the Business Journal a year ago. We haven't had conversations, Phil, 6 months ago, maybe.
Just briefly. I mean, just
And-
briefly,
and-
they came in,
Correct.
talked about it and said what was going to be the requirements if they wanted to come in. And they've just been slow in responding to us. Like we said, ask for revenue projections, all that kind of stuff. The only thing that we've sent them in writing was what we did in Stillwagon as far as the pre-annexation agreement. And that only dealt with annexation and deal with anything else, anything with respect to utility incentives or tax abatements or anything like that. Just this is what an agreement would look like. This is what Weathersfield has approved, because they still have to negotiate with Weathersfield as well about annexation, since it would be a joint annexation. So really, this was the very, like the mayor said, a very infant step, other than them just, which is the process. They go to the administration, but then any agreement all has to be presented to council and voted on by council. So this is part of that process.
So are we working with Weathersfield then, hand in hand, or is this something where they'll agree to their portion, we agree to our portion, and hope they line up?
As far as the annexation would go, they would remain in Weathersfield for property tax and then come into Niles for income tax. It's essentially what they call like a type 2 annexation, where it doesn't, is not removed from Weathersfield, but it also is enveloped in the city of Niles.
Now, I know the term proposed is being bounced around quite a bit, and again, potentially speculation. The gentleman that were here from Bit Deer really led us to believe, especially in their closing remarks, that this is already a done deal. Can we put that on record that it's not, and that we have an opportunity as a community to evaluate what we're getting into?
I can tell you specifically under the law, it cannot be a done deal until council votes on it. And I'm not even sure, given the fact that we're subject to sunshine laws and open meetings, how any other community is signing an NDA. So, you know, this first I've ever heard of non-disclosure agreements relating to any kind of economic development, maybe with respect to what that company's revenue is or information that's proprietary to that company, but not with respect to any kind of incentives or anything. All of that, I can assure you from my office, would not be prohibited from being disclosed because it would be against the sunshine law.
Thank you. There is a statewide petition going around through all of Ohio against these things. If we go forth and maybe don't approve an memorandum, pardon me, I stutter. Yeah, that. If we don't approve that and the state ends up approving or getting on the ballot to shut down these data centers, then what?
We'd be back in council's hands to, we handle it locally. Even though that doesn't alleviate the Weathersfield problem, we'd have to look at other avenues to make it difficult.
Okay. Now, council, I look at every one of you, you are all elected, and obviously there's plenty of people here very opinionated. I'm hoping that you guys are all going to listen to your constituents. Would it be impossible potentially to put this on as a special election? Can we make that ask?
It's a legal question. Could you answer that?
Yeah, that would be up to council. You would also have the ability to do a referendum if an annexation was passed. You could have the opportunity within 30 days to put it on the ballot. You have to get enough signatures. Do I know what that number is off the top of my head? No, it has something usually to do
Phil?
with the last
could put-
gubernatorial election.
You could put the issue specifically about the it coming in, or as well as you could, as he was saying, you could put a referendum in challenging it being annexed in. You would have the right to put it on the ballot to overturn potentially a annexation.
Phil, currently, with that being Weathersfield Township there, is there anything that we as a council can do to stop this place from even coming in?
That's actually one of the ways. So,
For them
from
to
a,
even be there, we can't stop
there's
them.
nothing, I don't, as I sit here, I don't know if there's any legal way that we could possibly stop another political subdivision from developing their property or allowing something in. The only way we could do it is effectively, like Mr. Slido is saying, and the individual in the crowd, is not allowing our utilities to be extended, but that wouldn't necessarily be a legal prohibition on them coming in. So that's as I sit here, so.
It's just it. A lot of the concern with people is having it near us. That's a lot of the concern. And currently, we can't do anything about it because that's not Niles.
As he said, though, we do have a little control with our utilities. So there, we can inadvertently, yes, affect the whole process by not giving the utilities. So that's Phil said, I'm trusting as a law director, that's a correct answer, so. The avenue, potentially, when we said there's a lot of ways if they try to force it down to address that. I've been involved in pickets, strikes, et cetera, and there's always a way to get to where you need to be. And so there's avenues and it can be very difficult if they try to ram it down our throat.
This is what I'm concerned about. I just want to make sure because currently we have we don't have a whole lot of control and I want to make sure, you
Just
know.
the utilities, which is huge.
And,
Anything else?
and one thing to add to that, I know their original proposal or plan was to pool river water and treat that water for their cooling systems. So if that wasn't that, if we said no on water, they had, in full transparency, that is also an avenue.
Go ahead, Abigail.
Just my final question, I mean, the comment was made just moments ago that we've known about this tentatively 6 months or so. We've been in talks. Why is this the first time within the last week to 10 days that the community is really hearing about this? This seems very, I don't want to say lacking transparency, but why has this not been brought up at any of these forums anywhere? I think that's a lot of the raw emotion is the shock. But my question is just why has this not been discussed in a public setting previously?
The only thing I can tell you is in this recent time frame is the only time they have now committed and said, we want to do this. So, 6 months ago, there was no, we want to do this. They were exploring if we wanted to do this, what are our potential options? But it's only been within the last couple of weeks that they've actually said, okay, now we want to do this. What's it going to take? And this is the first step to bring it to the public, bring it to the committee. The committee has its meeting. That's the legislative process. So to do it before they've even said anything or as far as committed to anything, one of the things they even needed to do was test soil to see whether or not it was anything they could even do, because one of the properties was an old city dump, as whether or not EPA regulations was going to allow them to do that. So it would be necessarily putting the cart before the horse. Now it's at a point where it could come to fruition. This is why we're bringing it to the public now.
Are the communications prior to presentment of them, even if it's not on the agenda for this evening, are those communications previous to tonight available for public access?
I believe almost all of it was verbal. There was a meeting. I think there was one meeting, and then we had Teams meeting. To the extent that we've had any emails, I can go and look. Okay. And I think the only email you might find is me sending them, this is what we did in Stillwagon as far as a proposed annexation agreement. And then emails saying that were essentially transitory, setting up a call, this and that. So, but I don't have any formal documents. I don't have any formal agreements. I don't have any formal NDA, anything formal that would be a legal document at this, even from them. The only thing I've given them is what we did in Stillwagon that we just passed a week or a month ago.
Okay, but thank you for all of your questions and answers and communication. I hope going forward, we can have very clear, concise, direct communication. Obviously, this impacts not only everybody in this room, but all of our surrounding communities. So let's be good humans.
Thank you, Abigail. Could you state your name, please?
Hi, I'm Lita Phillips. I live on 433 Scott Avenue. A lot of the things I was going to bring up, of course, have been addressed. I too am a cancer survivor. I just am finishing up 2 years of a double mastectomy and reconstruction. So I am concerned about pollutants and what it might do to not just me, but everyone here and in the radius. Yeah, so I was appreciative of what they did answer, but I also noticed they didn't answer a lot of things. And that to me means they're hiding something. They don't want to tell us. And that's what I would look into, the things they didn't actually answer. Because the rest, I mean, once we agree to this, if we annex them, and is that we have to annex them or what? I mean, yeah, so we don't know yet. So they need our resources. That's why they're here. They need our water. That's why everyone's moving to Ohio with these centers, because they want our water. But with the climate change, which is real, we're going to have hotter summers, drier summers. And these just recent study came out that said that there's heat sinks or heat islands around these centers that will raise the temperature up about 3 degrees in like a 6-mile radius. And I'm 3/4 of a mile from it. I moved here from Girard recently, like 4 or 5 years ago, because Girard had a lot of noise where I lived, and they put up a wall along the freeway. I still heard the noise. It smelled because of Garbage Mountain and the scrap yard. I could smell it in my hair when I went outside. I don't want that here. That's pretty much why I moved here, because it was nicer to me. But anyway, yeah, that's all really. I just wanted to put those things out there. And I know I submitted email to you guys, so I just want that officially in the record as well. All right. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Oh no, my voice is gonna. Steve, I hope your family never has to go through cancer. I battle every day with head and neck cancer. But I want you to know something. You have to say no to this data center. Because if you're doing it for a generation for money and you run a business in the city of Niles, like you say you always do, I can bet you one thing right now. This place will even be more crowded and you're going to be outvoted. That's the promise. I guarantee you that. So you need to think twice for all these people that battle cancer. I'm only 60 years old and I battle every day. I don't even know if I'm going to live next week. You need to say no to data centers. Do your research like you tell all of us to. I've been coming to this place for over.
You directed here, though, you all about, but just,
What?
could you keep it up here? But I mean, you still could address.
Well, I want him to know I battle every day of my life. And if he doesn't have a loved one that's battled cancer, you need to look it up and get your research. On that note, my name is D7. I have a fundraiser going on right now. I want to present the veterans in heaven a check for $1,000. So I would appreciate if anybody wants to participate in my fundraiser for the veterans. Thank you.
Thank you for your work with that, and I'd be happy to get involved.
Hi, Becky DePanicus, totally different topic. I consider myself a pretty educated voter, especially having worked at the Board of Elections for many years. And I went to vote today and I was really surprised because I saw we had a park levy. I haven't seen anything about it anywhere. No signs, nothing. And I think we have so much to be proud of in our parks. The advances that have been made. Stevens Park was practically in my front yard. So over the years, played there many times. And to see how that's evolved over the years, how Waddell has evolved, even some of the neighborhood parks, we've really got a lot to be proud of. And I would just like to say this is a wonderful opportunity to promote our levy. A sign near our new Central Park, a sign at the new playground, something to remind people just what's been going into the parks, not just from grants, but with our tax dollars. And I, for one, if there's a sign available, put a big one in my yard. But I think this is a great opportunity for our community to come forward, push what we've got. I know this has been an important topic, everything else we've talked about, but I really think some of the little things are awfully important for citizens of Niles. So you've got my vote, that's for sure.
Becky, Phil, can you confirm this, the city is not permitted to advocate for or against a levy?
So that we
That-
can't-
That's
we-
why there's no signs or Facebook posts or,
But private,
we would love to, believe me, and show off.
Well, in the future, you want to start a committee of citizens, let me know.
that's what I was gonna,
First on
gonna
board.
tell you is private citizens can do that. Private citizens.
Hi, my name is Caroline Lucarello. I live on 46 South Cleveland. I will be impacted by this data center. But as a registered nurse, I don't think anyone is seeing what the impact is going to be on the community when utilities go up from the usage of the data center. I already work in Youngstown where there is a huge poverty level. And it comes down to people who have to choose between food, housing, medicine, utilities. So if you continue, yes, you say it'll bring in a $945,000 profit if they use our water. But are you going to use that money to help people who can't afford their utilities when the costs go up? So we're going to see a big impact in the hospital because people aren't going to be able to afford their medications, which we already see that now. So you're also going to see an impact of a lot of homeless, of people who aren't going to be able to afford rent, their medications, or anything else. So you need to look at that in your proposals and also your fact findings, because there is a huge homelessness that's already out there, and you're going to see a lot of abandoned houses in the city of Niles because people are not going to be able to afford their taxes or their rent or their house payments, insurance, or anything else. So please look into that, because we are already overran at all three hospitals. We are on a level 3 surge every single day. And it's all because people cannot afford medications. So please take that into effect when you're looking at your data. Thank you.
Thank you for the information.
You
hold
got to
it.
hold it down.
Hello, my name is Iris Davis Hall, and I'm a resident on Washington. And as the last person in line, I think it's kind of my job and position to kind of wrap up and summarize this meeting. And that kind of goes down to 3 questions. Does this benefit the community? Does the community want it? And what will the city commit to, or rather, what can the city commit to helping us? First, does this benefit the community? Quick rundown of what everyone has said today that has harmed or will harm the community if this goes through is water pollution, thermal pollution, air pollution, voice pollution, strain of community resources. And the benefits are not as so benefit or not as strong. Sure, we might have 30 to 100 jobs or whatever the estimate was throughout today, but that's not long-term or a substantial buy-in for the other things that will actually harm us. And secondly, the tax revenue won't actually help us if there is a tax abatement. Secondly, does our community want it? I'm pretty sure it's clear from the dozens of people before me that we don't. So what will the city commit to, or what can they? Well, firstly, the temporary memoriam would be extremely helpful. The idea that this company wants to do is to push the city to make a decision as fast as possible. That is their strategy. That is what they always have done. And so it is important for the city to consider and to give them time to negotiate on our behalfs and to stop it as soon as possible. We talked about the water utility. That is our strongest power. We talked about the amount of water they would use. And we talked about the potential money and benefits that come from that. But what is the price? The strain, according to Brookings EDU on March 2nd, 2026, that costs about 10,000 homes That's the amount of water that that supplies. So is that really that much of a benefit if it's going to strain our already resources that we have? So you talk about what can we do if that's all we have. That's a huge thing to hold against this company because it is one of the most important resources that they have. We talked about the river, but how sustainable is that actually? Can they actually take the river? I don't think so, because that is not something that is completely sustainable for them if they plan to stay in this community for long. So don't let them fearmonger you or scare you. We have the power in this kind of regulations. And beyond that, you are our representatives. So you have the most power in talking to people, into negotiating with other cities, into talking about legislation, and talking about zoning. You have the most education and power. And so hopefully, like many of the people in the room, you will soon become experts on this and advocate on our behalf in order to stop this, because that is clearly what we want, because the benefits do not outweigh all the things that will go to harm us.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Erica Thomas and I live on Ward Avenue, which is across the viaduct and that way a little bit. The lady that was speaking to the parks, our area of town used to have a school called Garfield School, and they had a fair, and it was a community school. It was cool. And when the community fair funds, what they did is they not only painted the columns of Garfield School, but they also provided a place for the kids to play. Okay, Garfield School is history. I don't understand that deal. We put over $100,000 into repairs and we sold it for $32,000. Okay. So now you've got Iowa Street Park. Oh, does anybody even recognize it as a park except a big grassy field? Okay, one of the problems that I see is there are kids that are in my side of town who would have to go across the viaduct and walk up to Waddell Park. The only other place that they have an opportunity to play something like basketball is behind the junior high. I personally don't want my kids behind the junior high playing basketball where there's no one there to see, there's no neighborhood people looking about and saying, oh, what's going on behind the junior high? Now, I understand the council has thought this was a great idea, was to remove all the basketball hoops. And I've got one on my neighborhood, and it's looks like something that they pulled out of the garbage. But the kids play there. And you can see them playing there. And they get a group of kids and they play there. The city provides them with nothing on my side of town. Nothing. Now, it's great that we've got this canoe thing. I think that it looks beautiful. It'll be great. But how many kids have a canoe with a paddle? Huh? Okay. So we still have nothing except for the basketball hoops that are, you have to go down the road, make a right, and there's the basketball hoops behind the school. Now, my side of town was very proud of Garfield School. They were in my backyard, and the kids played, no problem. Neighbors kind of watched. We don't have that. And we have been very, on the back burner. But we have a lot of kids that, I think not in Iowa Street Park, everybody in the neighborhood can see what's going on in Iowa Street Park. Well, right now, nothing's going on in Iowa Street Park. Okay? But anyway, now back to this. You're talking about a moratorium for 6 months. What exactly what does that moratorium do? I'm not real versed in this kind of thing. Will that moratorium do? And I'm thinking if they're kind of saying, well, we're going to put this in, I think the city of Niles maybe we should do the annex thing because we will have control. And during that time, I missed the first part of this. How long will it take for them to build this? We've got that long to figure out what we're going to do. Now, the technology, I've heard a lot of good, people looking online and checking things out. But today's technology, they were talking about studies in 2022. Are they building a 2019 facility? Are they building a 2026 facility? What's the difference? What kind of things can we do to educate ourselves to mediate this? It's kind of like we need to really have a good idea of this. We need to maybe have people go out into other communities where these things are and speak to the people of the community. They tell us, okay, it's going to sound like this. Okay, right down here across the viaduct, God bless them, a welder catches something on fire. Now we hear it all day long, metal being transferred. Somebody catches something on fire. Oh, okay. Now we've got plastic burning in our neighborhood. Okay. There is a cost to industry. So I guess to a certain extent what I'm saying. There is a cost to jobs. The steel mills, grew up with them. My father worked, Republic Steel. The smokestacks, you go by them, they smelled like sulfur. Okay? We have an opportunity here to investigate and mediate. And I think that's probably what we should be doing. Because if they're going to say, we're going to Weathersfield and we're going to build this.
You got about 20 seconds.
Pardon?
Seconds.
Okay, we're going to Weathersfield. Do we want to have some control over that and to mediate that? And I think that we're going to have to educate ourselves more than what I did 5 minutes online before I came here. Anyway, think about the basketball hoops.
Agree with you about that all day long on the basketball. Thank you. Better off now. All right, thank you.
Quick, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. President, quick, no, I thought you beat me to this punch. Ma'am, last summer, council was generous enough to appropriate funding for Iowa Park. There was upwards of over $50,000 spent to install a brand new swing set, basketball hoop, remove trees and clean that up. So there is a basketball, half-court basketball brand new at Iowa Park.
Well, ma'am, I will tell you, and piggybacking on what he said, myself, Mr. Johnstone, and the previous council person, Linda Dvorak, along with support from council, you have a nice blacktop half basketball court. Yes, there's a nice nice blacktop basketball court and everything else. It was a big project last summer. The previous council person and Mr. Johnstone, we did. Yeah, you'll like it. Go take a look at that. You'll like it. It's updated. It's pretty nice. Be pleasantly. It's a start, right? It's a start.
You
Give us a
stole,
minute.
you
Hey,
stole the
we'll-
words from me. It's not perfect, but if you remember what that looked like, you were talking about the lonely swing on it's all brand new now.
Yes.
I don't
Hey.
want to, I don't want to overpromise you, but it's all brand new. I think you'll like it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, you will like it, and and there's a lot of other ideas and works as well you'll see coming along here with the Waddell Park, et cetera. So I know these other parks need a facelift a little bit too, and we are working and we are noticed of that. So like I said, last summer, Ms. Yeah, well, go check out Iowa Park and you'll see that you'll be happy. But you said none, so we gave you one, so we're working on it. Well, thanks for coming, and you keep on us. We'll be working on it. Any other public comments? Right. Any other public comments? Jim, come on up and give your name. All right, man, let's keep it. Jim?
Hi, my name is Jim Smith. I live at kind of what you say, going to be ground zero here. I live at 611 Belmont Avenue, which is right across the river to the south, or excuse me, to the north of the proposed site. And just right to my east is another proposed site. My wife is a 5-year survivor of breast cancer. I have COPD. I'm 73 years old. I have lived in Niles off and on since Mayor Cicero was here. So that's been a while. I don't think that you people want a data center here. I really don't, if you do your research. It's not good for your health. It's definitely not good for what you're trying to build here with your brand new canoe launch and your brand new downtown area. And I beg you, please do not do that, because if we end up with 2 data centers, that whole side of town is probably going to become a ghost town. I know I'll sell in a heartbeat. I don't care. And all I've done is put money in my house, trying to make the east side a little better. Okay. Trying to make the 3rd Ward a little better. However, every time I come up, I'm going to go offline here just a little bit. I come up Fenton Street, I see tarps hanging all over the porches. When they get all shredded, they don't take them down. They put another tarp up with it. I see tow trucks parking on the sidewalks, going against the traffic. I see cars all up and down through there. They're going against parking. I see garbage cans sitting right out in the front all week long, putting their trash in them. But nobody's doing nothing about it. So let's just get a data center and make it let's make it even worse. Okay? And I want you to remember something, gentlemen. You work for the people. You don't work for the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any other public comments?
Thank you for that vote of confidence. I'm Richard Strong. I live at 10. Jesus, what's wrong with the sound system? And I got this huge ass voice.
It's when you put it up your mouth a little.
Is that how that works? You guys should take some lessons from that. But anyways, thank you for that information. Listen, I can hear myself now. So, everybody, what I was going to say up here tonight, literally has been covered, and I mean every single thing. So I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say is what I saw presented here is the same as what my very brief and incomplete, investigation, if you will, into what a data center does and how it affects everything around it, including the wildlife, and i.e. deer, gophers, whatever. But it's a mystery to me, Council President and Council Salito. It's an absolute mystery to me how something of this magnitude and got to this point without some busybody like myself knowing about it. How did it get here where we're at right now without people like me knowing about it? Well, I don't know how, and that'll confuse me for a while. So until I adequately explain that to myself, the only thing I'm going to say is that anything that would enable or entice them to continue on their path that the City of Niles Council may or may not do. I think you should remember what you saw here tonight and, take it from the people that have been talking to me, which they probably don't agree with a lot of you already. But you're probably not going to get reelected, and rightly so. This needs to be tabled until the information, as I said, what we've got here tonight told me enough to know that we don't know enough. That's pretty much the long and the short of it. So, and in closing, I want to say that I'm just not satisfied with our mayor. And here's an opinion. I think we need to replace him, and that Doug Salito needs to be the next mayor of the City of Niles. You have a great afternoon.
Any other public comments?
You do know there's a petition going around. If they get enough signatures, 6 months from now is going to be November. That's when people get to vote on it, correct? The council, the mayor said he knew about it a year ago. It became official between September and October of 2025 that you did know about it. Why didn't you get with council, since you're so transparent, and say, hey, we got an issue that's coming to Niles? Let's talk about this, so when it arises, we have answers and we could act on it. You didn't. You waited until 160 people came in here. And I believe that council member said right there, you work for us, correct? How many people came up here and said they were for it? Zero. If that there don't, and Aaron, you said it, 4 people come to council? And I want to apologize to the people because I said it would be 5. And I thanked them for showing up for something so important. I really do. I really do. But you say there's nothing you can do. That I don't believe that. You got 7 members that could say, no, we're not coming here. If you want to go to Weathersfield, go. You're not coming to Niles. Our citizens spoke. They don't want it.
Hey, George, let me say one thing. The 6 month, and talking to the law director, would not put it on a November ballot. You would miss the November ballot if it gets a 6-month moratorium.
Well, in order to get it on the ballot, it has usually like 90 days prior. I don't remember the exact, I don't do election law, but I know specifically there's a deadline before you're going to be able to get language on the ballot.
I just.
Okay.
So July 1st, George, not 6 months.
I don't know. Regardless, it's, in this fact finder meeting, I just didn't get nothing get nothing out of it. He was like the prosecution he had no facts. He was just trying to present evidence. And he just didn't, if I was a jury member, I wouldn't vote for it. I would say he's in it guilty. It just didn't, it wasn't nothing there. It just wasn't there. Also, if council says they're not going to change zoning, what happens then, Phil?
If they're not going to change, the zoning as it exists now, would allow for it, but that's where a moratorium could come into effect, and that would support a zoning restriction. That's generally why you would go to a moratorium, to do due diligence, to see the impact on, the community, and that's why you would put zoning regulations in to make sure that certain things couldn't come in.
So then technically,
Unless they complied with all the levels.
so then technically, you could stop it.
Effectively.
And then if they say
You
they're
may
gonna,
not be able to say a straight bar to it.
okay,
But you can.
but
put
technically on the
zoning in.
backside, you could stop it. And if they want to go to Weathersfield and they don't want them there, and they
I
don't
think
want,
the question I was asked is, how do I stop it when it's going to go into Weathersfield and there's nothing I can do in another
Well,
political subdivision?
don't Weathersfield use our utilities?
Remember those days?
Hey, and fight's a fight, right?
We're under agreements in a lot of the Weathersfield.
I know you are. I know you are. But like the last gentleman said, there was a lot of, the lady with the green or yellow orange here. She said a lot of things that I wanted to touch on, but I just can't believe you think there's nothing you can do. And I talked to that gentleman, Robert, out there. A tax abatement, when a company comes into, they ask for a 75-25 tax abatement. Is that it usually?
Well, we just passed the CRA that provides for that, but that all has to still be approved by council.
Well, see now he told me Niles has nothing to do with the tax abatement because Weathersfield already gave it to him.
No,
Is that true? I mean,
That's
I don't
not-
see how.
that's would be news to me. I don't
Yeah.
believe they do. So
So they can't, so that was a lie. I'm gonna send you the video where he just come out and said, yeah, we don't need Niles, he said. And about this park levy she was talking about in our parks. We got a park levy. I pay my taxes. And I had questions for the data meeting and council, which they probably don't know what I'm talking about when I want to talk to council. Why do we have a park levy, taxes? I live in Niles. Why do I gotta pay to play in our public parks that I pay for the levy and taxes? Why do I gotta pay? Then the high school, they don't pay. They go to Waterfield. They don't pay. The girls softball, they don't play. Nothing personal, just nothing against them. Why don't they pay? I called the school and wanted to use the football field. They said $3,500 for one day. I wanted to use the basketball court, $2,800 for one day. So what? I helped build that with my taxes.
To rent it for one day?
One day, $3,500. I got the emails. And I'm going to say it again about the splash pad. You need to put a fence around it. Nothing personal against Howland, Girard, Warren, or any other city. I don't care about them. I care about Niles. And we got a very, very nice splash pad out there for the kids. You go over there, 3 kids from Niles, 22 kids from, I don't know where they're from. Put a fence around it because the parents are over there sitting on, and I got a picture. Parents sitting on a picnic table drinking. And I'm going to send you the picture of it, Phil.
But you can't kick the other people out.
Then they come, if they live in Niles, they come down to the city hall, they get a pass, show that they're a Niles resident, they swipe and go in.
equal protection issue, George. It's equal protection issue. You can't keep, okay, well.
I didn't want to hear it, Phil.
Right, sorry.
You telling me you can't keep somebody out of that park that don't live in Niles? But yet I gotta pay to play in a park that I pay for?
Just like I can't keep somebody out that's from another city to come in.
Okay, here you go. I'm gonna send the request in tomorrow to the park board. I want to use Wilder Field this summer to play ball on.
Go ahead.
When's the last time somebody beside Niles?
30 seconds.
When was last time somebody played at Wilder Field beside the Niles boys baseball team?
Because we have a license with.
Oh, here we go. We got a license, all technicality. I'm a citizen. and this is gonna land in court, because I'm playing at Waterfield. And also one other thing, we got 7 members that vote. You go out, do your job, you vote, you give your opinion during council members. Doug, this is not a campaign for your political going forward, and you're using it. Ask Mr. Marino. And when I spoke to him, he said his job is to start the meeting, end the meeting, move the meeting forward. You don't vote, you don't give opinions, and you don't talk. Because it's all about who's going to talk more, Steve or Doug? Doug or Steve? Who's going to talk more about what? That's not your job. Your job is to move the meeting forward. And you using that, your position is a political, is against the law.
You're about 30 seconds over.
Any other public comments? Get in today's legislation.
Can't do twice. We'll stay around after you.
What's today's legislation? Clerk, could you present today's legislation?
The following drafts will be brought to the floor for the first time. Draft 7226, an ordinance updating the City of Niles permit fees and Niles Fire Code fee schedule and creating Niles codified ordinances 171 and 172 for each fee schedule respectively, and declaring an emergency.
Motion for a first reading.
Motion for first reading by Mr. Julian, second by Mr. Lastic. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Waddell?
Yes.
Mr. Johnstone?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Leskovic?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Mr. Lastic? Mr. Stredney? 7 yeas.
Next draft, please.
The following drafts will be brought to the floor for the second time. Amended draft 5826, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of unused lands owned by the City of Niles to Trumbull County Land Reutilization Corporation. Draft 6626, an ordinance authorizing the City of Niles to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with JRD Holdings Partnership for Phase 2 of the development of the TIF Incentive District and declaring an emergency. Draft 6726, an ordinance amending the Niles zoning code and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Any questions, comments?
When, do we have the public hearing set for the zoning yet?
May 6th.
May 6th?
We got a second reading, first by Mr. Lastic, second by Mr. Stredney. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Waddell?
Yes.
Mr. Johnstone?
Yes.
Mr. Shealy?
Yes.
Mr. Leskovic?
Yes.
Mr. Julian?
Yes.
Mr. Lastic? Mr. Stredney? 7 yeas.
The previous drafts have all received a second reading. Clerk, call the consent agenda, please.
The following drafts will be part of the consent agenda passed together with suspension of 3 readings and adopted as an emergency. Draft 5426, an ordinance authorizing the Community Improvement Corporation to enter into a lease agreement with option to purchase with Von Isley Estate LLC. An ordinance authorizing monthly cash transfers. Draft 6926, an ordinance authorizing the appropriation of funds from the unappropriated sewer fund to contract with Z-Tech Builders for emergency storm culvert repair. Draft 7026, an ordinance authorizing the appropriation of funds from the unappropriated water fund for the Niles Lead Service Line potholing project. Draft 7126, an ordinance authorizing the execution of loan agreement, execution and delivery of promissory. Draft 7326, a resolution authorizing the service director to enter into a contract with Lindy Paving for First Street paving. Draft 7426, a resolution authorizing the City of Niles to proceed with the demolition of unsafe structures in the City of Niles, Trumbull County, Ohio, and to request the assistance and cooperation of the Trumbull County Land Reutilization Corporation in effecting the same. Draft 7526, an ordinance authorizing the service director to enter into contract with Wiring Unlimited, Inc. for SCADA and IT at the wastewater treatment plant through 2026.
Pleasure.
Motion to suspend and adopt. Second.
Motion to suspend and adopt by Mr. Johnstone, second by Mr. Lastic. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Waddell,
Yes.
Mr. Johnstone,
Yes.
Mr. Shealy,
Yes.
Mr. Leskovic, Mr. Julian.
Yes.
Mr. Lastic.
Yes.
Mr. Stredney.
Yes.
Consent agenda has been adopted under council rules. That completes today's legislation. Miscellaneous remarks. Mayor,
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Honor.
Just real quick, I know Aaron and I have had conversations. I've had conversations with the administration on the financial side of things. One of the things that we're probably going to be looking at here in the near future is looking to go out for some bonds. So we will be having, probably in the near future, some finance meetings with Aaron's committee. I urge council to come to those because we are looking to do some things on the project sides for infrastructure, along with some equipment that we are in need for city. So those will be coming here shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Service Director. Mr. Safety Director. Got the chief back here. No chief. Chief's not here. Mr. Waddell.
The only comment I would make is, if this project we talked about earlier tonight were to go to Weathersfield, I also had the same thought as Aaron about we can be the masters of our own destiny here. And I think that's important for us to think about too, because if it comes there and we have no control, that may become a bigger issue than we want to deal with, but that's just a thought.
Mr. Johnstone.
I'll keep it brief. It's been a long night, and this room was packed when we started, and I only see a handful left. So thanks for sticking around to the end. This was the actual votes, and everyone's gone. But thank you guys for showing the interest in your city. I know that sometimes we don't all agree, and that's okay. This is an open forum to voice those opinions and come and do that. So I really do appreciate everybody coming. The one thing I would like to note tonight, though, is draft 5426. This is an agreement that has been a long time coming with the Von Isley estate. And we had some property that had butted up next to them. We've been working with them for, Phil, I don't know, a year, it seems like, nonstop. We were finally able to put some terms together and tried to help a small business in Niles while still protecting the city interests. And I think we did a really good job with that. I'm biased, I will admit. But I'm really excited not only to see what he's already done with that property, but what maybe his property, what maybe this can help him do going forward. So if you haven't taken a drive over there, I am one of his biggest fans. Please take a drive over, take a look at what he's done. It's pretty remarkable.
Mr. Shealy.
I just want to thank everybody for showing up and voicing your concerns. This stuff is all new to me with these data centers. I am trying to navigate this the best way that I can so that I can do the best job that I can to try to protect my ward as well as the rest of Niles. I want to be informed on it. I want to know more. And it's just that I don't know everything about this. So I am trying to dig for information and ask all the right questions on your behalf so that I can make an informed decision. Thank you.
Frank.
Yeah, it's nice to see everybody here. Wish it was this way. Every meeting would be nice. It's welcome all your input. You're teaching us. We're working for you and we appreciate y'all.
Mr. Julian.
Just thank you guys all for coming.
Bear.
For stereo.
Ed.
Just reiterate what everyone else said. Thank you very much for everybody coming and for a civil discussion. And thank you for my fellow council members for doing your research. I know there was a lot of information that we've all been reaching out to and reading and digesting so we can make informed best decisions for the residents. So thank you, and especially to everybody that came tonight. You know, these meetings don't always get this much attention, and for the amount of people, and I think it went very civilly, which is great. I was excited to see all the people too, so thank you.
I parrot that was an excellent turnout. And thank everyone for coming, especially the Warriors that have been here now 2.5 hours almost. And I want to thank Mr. Johnstone. I think he has a legwork potentially in regard to a moratorium of some sort. So I think that's a good step. You know, you get problems all the time, but you got to find an answer. So I think that's a good step that he's suggesting. That's all I have. Adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Stredney, second by Mr. Shealy.